Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Torch Snuffers podcast. I am your host, Colin Connors. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Alicia Garza.
Hey, y'all.
Also joining us today is the wonderful Elise Anderson.
Hello.
And Elise, I have to ask, what are you drinking tonight? I forgot to ask Alicia. It's too late for that, but what are you drinking? What is that?
Heineken.
I can't see it. What?
Heineken.
A Heineken.
I am drinking a cinnamon horchata ale.
Okay, both of that was the most white girl things we could possibly name. So I'm going to jump to Stephen Lehman. He's beautiful. He's another panelist tonight. Stephen, you're drinking something really cool, right?
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's another white girl drink, Angry Orchard, so.
Okay, that's not
good
exciting
choice.
at all. Alex
I have
Cash,
some in my fridge.
what are you drinking? That has to be more exciting than these.
I
stupid
have the
generic
whitest
white
girl thing possible. It's Vinique Shimmery Liqueur. Look at it. It's all swirly.
Okay.
It makes swirls.
Okay, listeners, for those of you can't see this. Alex held up a giant bottle, and it is swirling and it's sparkling, and he's gonna start drinking it right now.
It's like a snow globe.
It is like a snow globe. Thank you, Patrick. That was very good. Okay, let's jump to Jack. Jack, what are you drinking tonight?
Nothing right now. All I have is just like a single bottle of rum.
Okay, go get that single bottle of rum and be a goddamn man with it. Okay, also, Patrick, what do you got tonight?
Sprite.
Sprite? Okay. And Jack is leaving to go get the bottle of rum because he's a good man. All right. And I am
Smooth.
drinking
Very smooth. It tastes like
Yingling
peach.
lager beer because I'm a man, and it also has a Survivor San Juan del Sur logo on it. And I
Oh.
also want to point out, there are a lot of Survivor podcasts out there. However, this podcast was delayed 15 minutes because someone here spilt beer all over their room, and that someone was me. And it took me 15 minutes to clean it up. I got beer all over my pants. And that's the kind of quality Survivor coverage we bring you. So that's why you should listen to us. We're the only Survivor podcast ever to be delayed because of alcohol. Anyways, a lot of exciting things happened tonight. We have a huge episode, in-depth analysis to get to, and I'm going to start talking with my man Steven, because Steven, you love Tasha, and Tasha seems to be making pretty good strides with Wu, and I was thinking, a Tasha and Wu alliance makes sense because of their Kagyan connection, and I mean, if you're Tasha, you want to take Wu to the end because you know you can beat him. Tell me why I'm right or wrong.
I think you're right in that you want Wu with you long term because he's shown that he is quite loyal. You saw it in Kagyan with him and Tony. So I think if Tasha does build those inroads with Wu, she's going to do well. I don't know if you want to bring someone like Wu to the end, especially if you might have risk of a bitter jury, like you do in returnee seasons, because you have someone who is loyal, rode the current to the end, so to speak. And someone like that could, in theory, sap up votes, especially if you have old schoolers on the jury who, well, we'll get to that other point later, Wu, but yeah.
So you actually think Wu could interfere with this? Okay, Alicia, you want to say something, even though you missed the first part of the episode. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that with Wu, I think he's good to align with early in this second chance season because, again, he is loyal. However, you have to remember that his whole redemption arc would revolve around taking votes to the end or not allowing a deserving player to get there. So if you have a deserving game, you probably don't want to stick with Wu at the end because you want to cut him before he has a chance to cut you.
That's very fair. But Jack, do you think Wu has that kind of self-awareness? Because to me, he is starting to get a second chance redemption arc. But I think his second chance redemption arc could be like, I actually played the game and got 7th place, or maybe he could win. What do you think?
Yeah, I think his redemption isn't going to rely on the fact that he's going to be like a cutthroat player or make like a really smart strategic decision. Sorry, I think the fact that he's actually like trying to play the game other than just doing challenges is like the improvement that Wu is going to bring to this season.
Woo, he's actually trying. And speaking of improvement, Jack did improve his night altogether by bringing a giant bottle of rum. He's going to be drinking on that while we continue on our podcast. Elise, did you want to say something? No? Okay.
Not really.
This is your giant hair.
they
It's just
covered it.
really distracting. Alex, I want to talk with you a little bit. This is something about a little bit different. This was Andrew Savage right off the bat. He made this small little comment about Jeff Varner saying, oh, he's in a better place. I just thought that was hilarious. And to all the Andrew Savage fans, it's like, hey, look, here's a reason to like him because he's funny. What did you make of that?
Well, what I made of it was what we didn't see behind the scenes was that Jeff Varner, like when he dropped a puzzle piece on his toe, what we didn't see was that was actually a really serious injury. It was like turning black and the doctors thought it was broken. So the better place is the hospital,
Oh, okay.
actually.
He wasn't talking about hell.
Oh.
Oh, damn.
Okay, and
But in any case, it was a nice moment of humor for Savage, who otherwise I don't like because he comes off as, very privileged.
and that's fair. And I want to bring Patrick in on this. let's talk about, Savage's edit so far. He seems to be getting a very straightforward edit, and in this day and age as a Survivor, that's not necessarily a good thing. I think Savage is going to be cut down, third jury member, Savage. What do you think, Patrick? What do you think's
I
going on
think
with
he's
Savage?
been in Tasha's shadow because they were both in the same situation, but they've really highlighted Tasha where he's kind of faded into the background when she's done all the work.
Okay, that's fair. Jack. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that Savage doesn't seem that much different than he was in Pearl Islands, so I would not be surprised if he suffered like a very similar fate that he did back then.
That's because he was great in Pearl Islands and doesn't need to change.
Alicia, why did I make you co-host? Holy shit. Okay. So, the big meat of this episode, and Elise, not Alicia, I was saving this to talk with you, is the fact that Kimmy and Monica got into this little kind of tiffle, sniffle, whatever you want to call it, about clams in the episode. And the way it was presented was that Kimmy and Monica have been kind of having this little, or Kimmy's been hating Monica for a while. Monica was completely unaware. But what do you make of this Kimmy versus Monica thing? And my thing is, in terms of edit, you finally have two invisible people talking. So what does that mean in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I was excited just to finally see what they were doing, and so they were like clam hunting the entire time while they were off screen.
That's what they've been doing for the past 10 days.
Yeah. I think it's just stupid that these survivors keep getting into arguments over food. I mean, Kimmy did that way back in season 2, and it cost her. I don't think it's worth it. Sure, like you want to have a nice camp, but if it's at the expense of your own game, which it could have been at the expense of Monica's game, to not only fight about it, but then try and blow up your current alliance for this girls thing that Kimmy was hating on, it's not worth it.
So, I guess what I really want to ask you is, do you think Monica was planting the seeds of an all-girl alliance way before this episode, or do you think this literally just happened this episode?
Well, it happened last episode. She wanted an all-girls alliance. So I think it's been something that she probably came into the game saying, I want to work together with girls, and it just kind of blinded her to the fact that Kimmy wasn't feeling it. So.
I mean, that's fair. And the fact that Monica seems so unself-aware, I think is going to speak to later what we talk about with her, untimely ouster, or a timely ouster that I saw later this episode. Now, Steven, to me, though, when two invisible characters start getting screen time, it means one of them is going home. And I think me and you highlighted this earlier. One of the flaws of this episode was that there was absolutely no suspense about who was leaving tonight.
Yeah, so with I think I touched on it with you, Colin, at least, but the editing of this episode was a little, I don't want to say it was just choppy for me, because when you have certain storylines set up, like Monica in the previous episode saying, we got to get Spencer out of here, and then it doesn't happen, you think, oh, well, gee, that's just on the back burner for next week. So, when Monica got those early confessionals, I was like, oh, dang it, that's a death knell for her. So, yep, unfortunately, I was not surprised with Monica.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, Alex, you want to jump in real quick. Make your point quickly.
Yeah, so two things about Monica. One is that in her original season, she was in a girls' alliance on Galu, which we got to see very little of because Russell. And also, remember on the original Bion, there was a men's alliance, so she was probably working with the women as sort of a counter alliance. And so that was an idea that was already in motion. We just didn't see the connection made explicitly.
And that's a very good point. However, I will say we're probably going to have to wait until tomorrow to see all the exit interview stuff before we know for certain. But that does seem like a very fair point that maybe Monica was doing this as a counter to the perceived men's alliance that was going on. Elise, I'm going to go with you and me and you together, holding hands. We're going to jump to the reward challenge, and we're going to talk about how annoying Probst can be. And specifically, once again, we're bringing it back to Monica. Probst constantly saying, Monica's dropping the ball. Monica's doing this. Now, do you think he should be doing this as he's supposed to be an unbiased host? Or do you think, all that's out of the window at this point in time?
I think it kind of makes it obvious that Monica's going home that episode if it's constantly Monica's doing this, Monica's doing that. Mm-hmm. I think it's something that sucks and it's annoying to see Probst saying that, but I don't know, it doesn't bother me too much anymore just because he's not going to end and you just get used to it. It sucks. I don't particularly like it.
So we just close our eyes and take the Probst abuse when it comes to challenges?
No. I think you have to talk back to Probst if you're in there. But I guess they were focused on the challenge.
That's true, and I would want to talk back on Probst. Alicia, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so think about the reverse. If Probst wasn't busy pointing out who might not be doing great, the opposite of that is him being people's cheerleaders. And that's definitely biased because he'd be like, oh, like, Joe, you're doing so amazing. I can't believe it yet again. You are killing this challenge. Like,
Well, in all
that's
fairness,
the
it would be.
Savage,
bias.
marry me.
It would just be him talking about how great Joe is, and we all agree Joe is great, even though
Maybe
like me
maybe
don't
this
wanna
allows him
admit.
to hold his true feelings inside for all those bros who he calls by their last name that he loves so much.
Good. That is a fair point, but what I'm going to counter that with this theme of second chances has brought us all the way back to the first season. In the first season, Probst would shut his mouth a lot during the challenge, and we could just watch and observe. Now, Jack, do you think that that's a good thing or a bad thing? This, Jeff's constant commentary.
I think it's something that he's grown into, and you can't just be like, all right, Jeff's going to stop doing it now. It's just part of like Survivor challenges, and you get these iconic players like Penner and others who like notoriously will talk back to Jeff or tell him to shut up. So
See, that's
I
what
think
I'm going to do
it's
if I would play.
yeah, you gotta go full front. If Jeff's gonna insult you, you gotta insult Jeff. It's the only way to do it.
I mean,
Fair
Jeff's
point.
got to get the sound bites in too.
That's true, but he could always record those later in a different booth.
That's
Patrick,
true.
you haven't said anything in a while, so me and you are about to have a pretty important conversation, okay?
All right.
Okay, you're there? You're listening? You paying attention? Okay, Patrick is the only one of us that doesn't have his webcam on because he thinks he's ugly, but in reality he's beautiful. But that's a different story. Anyways, on Takio, we did see a solid 5 alliance form between Kelly, Joe, Keith, Sierra, and Cass. Seeing as this is virtually the only time or screen time Takio is getting, Takeo is getting, do you think this might actually hold some water going forward?
Possibly, but none of them have been to tribal council yet, have they?
No.
Yeah, and so they haven't been tested, and that's a big test of trust. And so it could be, like Joe was saying, like, hey, I'm a big threat, and they're going to want to get me out early merge. So, yeah, there's a lot of variables in there, and there's also Chaos Cast, which you never know what the hell she's going to do.
That's true. Does anyone
He's
else
gonna
want
make
to
you a
chime in?
bracelet and give it to you for your birthday.
An official Chaos Cast bracelet. Anyone else want to comment on it? Because, I mean, to me, it very much seemed like, even though this might not be the final 5, and they might not last more than a round or 2, these 5 people, this little 5 alliance, is in fact going to make some moves going forward. Anyone want to comment on that? There we go. Alex does. Wow, guys, you're leaving me all out here just to,
I'm sorry, everyone else has had so much more airtime that I know way more about like Anchor's dynamics than Takeo's.
And that's a fair point that we're finally seeing Takeo on episode 5. Okay, Alex, go ahead.
Well, the thing is, I think the Alliance of 5 is going to become an Alliance of 4 next episode simply because the next time on spoiled us as to the fact that we're having a medevac and Cass comments on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm slightly
we're
peeved
having
about that, but yeah, I think.
So we're having a medevac, and so okay. Takeo is having a medevac. Do you know why at all?
Colin, do you
Alex
have
Cash?
tacos on the brain?
I have
And
no
that's
idea.
I do have
saying
tacos on the brain.
Takeo?
Yeah, I know.
But
What was that, Alex?
I have no idea why anyone is going to have a medevac, but if I had to make a prediction, I would think it's Sierra because she keeps talking about voting off her mom, and her mom's not there, so she's going to have to go home in order to do that again.
Okay. Very fair. All right. So
Do you remember when we thought Wu died in Kagea?
that's
I do remember that.
that's true. We did think we would die. I guess what I want to say is this, and Alex, it does kind of suck for you because you are not privy to this information, but I mentioned early on that there are 2 spoilers that Survivor fans know. I'm not going to spoil it, guys. I'm just saying that,
Better not.
yeah, but we kind of knew this one was coming, and I think it's going to be extremely interesting how this plays out. But, Alex, it is in fact known, and a 5-minute Google search can give you the answer to this. But
Which is why I don't do that.
I can't help it. People just give me Survivor knowledge. People give me Survivor knowledge and money for being attractive. Those are the 2 main problems with my life. Anyways, okay. I do want to talk about, Stephen, me and you, about Wu's sob story. Is Wu getting a winner's edit with that? Because someone has to be. We haven't heard from Wentworth.
I don't think Wu's getting a winner's edit with that. I think they're trying to give us more motivation to root for someone like him. And I think the little bit with Abby contrasting afterwards might have helped with that. So I think it was not only done for reinforcing us to root for Wu, but it was also done to reinforce us to not be particularly thrilled with what Abby Maria is doing. And I think it might be a growth story. So he might get to the end, and by end I mean like final 5 or 4, but he's not winning with an edit like that.
What happened to Abby? I was giving the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. Everyone wanted to comment on that. Elise, it's Elise, Jack, then Alex. Okay, Elise, go.
I just wanted to say I think it was probably to give a transition to why Tasha and Savage would want to work with a loyal Wu as opposed to someone as sketchy as Abby and so negative. Because we've shown in the past that Savage loved like Jeremy's sob story. They bond over that sort of thing. So I think it's just showing us why maybe down the line they cut Abby instead of Wu.
Very fair, very fair. Jack, did you want to jump in? Because you were nodding your head. You were being alive and animated, which I'm going to point this out real quick. Jack has a bottle of rum. I have not seen him drink out of it. Anyway.
I'll take a drink after I speak. Now, I'm sort of going to agree with Steven how I don't think it's like a winner's edit Wu vibe. It's more of just like reinforcing the polarity between Wu and Abby. Wu was just like being genuine and telling the story that he was upset about. And then Abby was immediately like, oh yeah, I have like a tendon in my knee that's from someone else. And my aunt had something like that too. She's just showing Wu being genuine and Abby just like immediately thinking Wu is like being a schemer.
Okay. Elise, go ahead and use your turn, I believe.
I think it's Alex's turn.
I'm sorry, it's Alex's turn. I'm sorry, that bad Canadian internet is messing everything up for me. Thanks, Justin Thoreau, whatever his Canadian name is. Go ahead, Alex.
All right, so I just think it's funny that in Survivor One World, Colton is like having black friends and having black servants is the same thing. Last season, Dan is like growing up in a broken home and being adopted are the same thing. And this season, Abby is like having a life-saving heart transplant and having a tendon transplant after breaking it in Philippines are the same thing. Lots of false equivalencies in modern-day Survivor.
That's true. And Alex, you listing those false equivalencies is the exact same thing as Schindler's List. Okay, Alicia, from a girl's perspective, from a sassy Latina's perspective, what the hell is going on with Abby Maria?
She's just herself. And I don't even think she realizes who she is. Nor does anyone else get her. And so we just see this giant, I don't know. I just don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
Sorry. As a woman
way
and
to
a
help the
Latina,
stereotype
I
women.
cannot relate
Okay.
because she's on a different level of confused. Even having the slight audacity to insist that a tendon and a heart are of like equal trauma and like equal seriousness is just amazing to me. But
okay. Moving on. Okay, Patrick, we saw in the immunity challenge, yes, we're jumping that far ahead, that Jeremy wound up sitting out. Why in the hell would Jeremy sit out? And this goes to my little conspiracy theory of the week that maybe Bion might have thrown the challenge. I don't know. We'll get to that later. But Patrick, why would Jeremy sit out of the challenge?
Gosh, really beats me. Maybe they really wanted to win the next reward challenge. I don't know. I have to admit that I had to go out and I missed like the instructions or whatever.
Okay, goddamn. Okay, so Steven, what you saying? You think Jeremy might have been sick?
I think he might have just not been as like 100%. He just didn't look like he was like 100% there. So I don't think it was like anything bad. I think he was just like under the weather, and they didn't want to like maybe exacerbate him or if he had anything. I don't think it was anything major. So
once again, I'm doing my job as a Survivor analyst and reading way too much into it. And just to point out, if you do ever want to read more about Survivor, there is this great website called Inside Survivor, and it has all sorts of cool stuff. I always stay away from Edgic because you never know what people know. But anyways, let's move on a little bit. Alex, Monica was given a confessional right at the end of that immunity challenge where she was just like, oh, I'm not worried at all. That signals to us that she's being voted out. And I guess my big thing is, how annoying is it that production keeps giving us the same confessionals as like a kiss of death? Because to me, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of trying to build any type of suspense.
To me, honestly, I didn't even notice that confessional because I was already aware that Monica was going home since the beginning of the episode, as soon as Kimmy voiced her disagreement. Because as Steven, pointed out at Tribal Council, one of the major themes of this season is that personal bonds, like strong personal bonds, lead to strong alliances. And so as soon as we saw Monica having a disagreement with Kimmy, that is a weak personal bond, and that led to a weak alliance. And I'm like, she's going home. I know it. So
Very fair.
It was like the confessional you're telling me about is just, yeah, I agree that's too much, but I liked the way that it was set up beforehand, even if it was slightly obvious, even without that other thing.
My thing is, and anyone can comment on this, that it's... We all know that's a kiss of death. I mean, we all saw it with Max Dawson last season. I'm tired of the super obvious kiss of deaths. And Jack, maybe me and you can talk a little bit more about this, about the editing this episode, because I thought it was good editing because people like Keith. Basically, everyone in my fantasy team got a confessional, so that makes it a good episode. Besides Kelly Wigglesworth. So 2 out of the 3 people on my fantasy team got confessionals. So, bam, that's a great thing. But yeah, Keith got a confessional. We finally got to hear from all these people, but there was literally no suspense in the vote. And is that just a product of the way the season's been kind of lopsided in terms of Tribal Council, or is there any way they could fix that via editing?
I think it was. I agree with both something that Alex said and something you said, where it led to a pretty obvious boot because Kimmy and Monica had a disagreement, and then, like, say Kimmy and Monica were actually pretty close, and Monica had mentioned the girls' alliance. I think Kimmy might have just brushed it off. But since they already had that slight disagreement, it was just going to be a catalyst of her going home. And I also don't like how it's becoming more obvious as time goes on, at least as you watch more, that if someone has like a really positive confessional, like, oh, I'm in a great position, it's like, well, that just means you're not in a great position. And it happens on every single season and pretty much like every episode. So yeah. I don't know if the editors are not knowing what to do, but maybe you can answer that because you're in the film industry and TV is part of that.
Okay, what I have to say for my note from the film industry would just be, no one needs to see Alvin and the Chipmunks 4. You don't need to see that movie. There's no point. They didn't cast me. Yeah, they didn't cast me. It's rubbish. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, so with all of this being said, we saw Jeremy leading the initial charge to vote off Wigglesworth. That was usurped, and I'm using a very dramatic hand motion, by Kimmy saying, hey everybody, let's get rid of Monica. Steven, this led us to Monica saying, Monica is not playing for her team. Monica is playing for Monica. Go.
I was so happy we got a Monica. I was so happy we got a Monica Culpepper reference. I'm also glad that Kimmy was sort of honing in. I'm glad to see that Kimmy's sort of playing hard. I mean, she's like, do I wish it wasn't at Monica's expense? Yeah, but I'm glad to see Kimmy sort of, taking the bull by the horns.
And a flashback
she's always trying.
Monica Culpepper.
Exactly. Flashback to Blood vs. Water Monica. Alicia, go ahead. Alicia looks so sad whenever I don't immediately jump to her. It's kind of funny. It's like when you have a puppy.
No, I was just going to say, I was having hardcore deja vu as soon as I heard the line on the TV that was like, Monica is playing for Monica. And I was like, oh my god, like, I went back to that final tribal in Blood vs. Water, where we had so much third-person communication. And I just wanted to quickly say that, yes, I am actually really impressed with Kimmy for taking that little comment that Monica made about a girl, like girls' numbers, and just running with it to get exactly what she wanted. Because if she doesn't feel that Monica is going to have her back in the long run, like, I'm really proud of her for just cutting her.
And that's a fair thing to make, but Elise, you haven't said anything, and I'm glad you haven't, because me and you are going to talk about the big kind of, in my opinion, the elephant in the room of tonight's episode. Okay, yeah, you blindsided Monica. What next? Like, why would the other Bayon members want to trust you later down the line? Because to me, it was actually really stupid to get rid of Monica, because really you think Spencer or Kelly Wigglesworth is going to show you any loyalty?
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think they should have just cut someone from the other tribe. And especially Kimmy, I don't think it makes sense for her to run to the rest of Beyond here. Even if she doesn't like Monica, if Monika's going for
I'm sorry, you're
a
cutting out a
girls,
little bit. It's Justin's
that means
internet.
Kimmy's safe. Oh, sorry. I was saying that even if that doesn't make sense for Kimmy, because even if Monica gets her way and screws over Beyond, Kimmy's still safe. So I don't think, and it just doesn't make sense for any of them. Keep your numbers. Monica might be sketchy, but that's something you can worry about down the line. She's not someone who's going to win too many immunities, I don't feel like. So it's better to just take out Spencer while you can.
Exactly. Take out Spencer, take out Wigglesworth. Okay, Alicia, and then we're going to jump to Alex.
But if you're Kimmy, are you sitting there wanting to have like one really like safe type bond with Monica who you don't like? Or would you rather have two guys indebted to you because you ran and told them, hey, sketchy shit is going on and you should be warned?
Well, I think the argument is that you couldn't theoretically, and Alicia, let's engage for a little bit before we jump to Alex. Couldn't Kimmy have, in a way, both by being like, hey guys, just to let you know, Monica is saying some stuff. We should still butt out Spencer or Wigglesworth because they're so powerful, but later down the road, let's deal with Monica because she's cray-cray.
I mean, and timing is part of that because you can always hold cards to your chest and reveal them whenever you'd like. So if she'd like to hold on to that for a few episodes and then when she really needed to pull that out, that also might have been a better move. But
I think that would have been a better move.
Yeah, true. Very good point.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but to me, it's just, I don't know. Alex, go ahead. Go ahead, Alex.
All right, so there's something else that there's the whole issue of what message does this send to the other Beyond members on the other tribes?
Exactly.
Because if that wasn't important, Steven wouldn't have mentioned it and Jeff wouldn't have mentioned it at Tribal Council, or we wouldn't have seen them do that. And not only that, but you haven't even formed a good bond with Kelly and Spencer because you didn't tell them about the vote. It was 3 to 1. So
Yes,
you've alienated more people, even on top of the people you already alienated.
See, and that's the thing is, I think we all kind of have some agreement that Monica needed to be voted out. It's just a matter of this probably wasn't the right time because to me, and Patrick, let's talk about this, Spencer and Wigglesworth, that's two wild cards. Why would you want to have the wild cards in your hand instead of the short bet? And yes, Monica's going to stab you in the back, but she's not going to stab you in the back until, final 6 or final 7, whereas Spencer and Wigglesworth are going to could potentially stab you in the back at the first tribe swap or the merge.
Just going back, Spencer and Kelly, they voted for each other, just because they thought that was the only option or whatever, and so they didn't. I don't know if they're necessarily, they're going to be grateful that they got to stay another 3 days, at least. So I don't know if that's going to buy them some loyalty. I mean, they were left in the dark, but still they were saved.
That's true. And I mean, we are going to have to wait until next week. Jack, but Spencer was given an absolutely golden edit of this episode, and I'm really starting to think Spencer could be a contender to win this season, or am I just reading too much into it?
I mean, I personally agree with you since Spencer is on my fantasy team, so I'm very optimistic. But I think he's sort of like, he had that setback, just like in Kageon, but I think he's sort of found his place in the game. I think he's really buddying up with Jeremy and Steven, and those are guys that he can strategize with, and they not get alarmed by him talking strategy.
Hold on, just one second. Can you drink from that rum bottle? Because you haven't yet.
I did. You're just not looking at
I
me.
called him out. Oh, here's the thing. Not only am I a fantastic Survivor host, I can keep track of how many times each player person has fought, I also keep track of your alcohol. Bam, go ahead, Jack.
So I think, yes, so Jeremy and Steven and Spencer, I think that's a group that Spencer feels comfortable with, talking strategy, just talking about anything else in the game. So I think he can really buddy up with those guys, and I honestly think Spencer is going to go further than people anticipate, especially if they were making predictions before the season started.
And Elise, maybe you can add in all this. Spencer's getting this kind of second chance redeeming story arc. Wu is getting it. Kelly Wentworth is getting it. I think an argument can be made for Jeremy getting it. Okay, Elise's internet just cut out because of the new prime minister. But Alex, do you agree when it comes to overall story arcs?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Do you think that Kelly
Yes.
Wentworth and Spencer
Yes.
and Wu are getting these winter story? The answer is yes. Yes, Alicia has said yes. Alicia has fed my ego.
I will
Alex-
just say
It's
that
not
I
really
agree
my-
with that, Alicia. Sure.
Alex
Okay,
is,
and you don't have to say you agree with me. You can say you agree with Alicia.
No,
So
we're
not only
spending
am
a
I right
lot
about
of
this
time
season-
redeeming Spencer for sure. We've seen
Exactly.
a lot
Spencer's
of
getting a huge
personal growth.
Too much.
Say that with
It's
like
personal
half
growth.
quotes.
Yes, exactly. Personal, because honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of Spencer's story arc. I liked him better the first time around because to me, like someone being like, "Oh, I'm nice now," isn't that entertaining. Someone like Spencer beforehand, constantly flipping shit, was more entertaining. Steven, you wanted to say something real quick?
Just to comment on that, to me, the people who are always like, I've changed now, I'm nice now. Generally, if you have changed or if you are nice, you don't have to go around saying how much you have changed or how nice you are.
Very true.
It shows through
That's
your
a general
actions.
rule for like every character.
Right. But that's to me
Exactly.
like that's why I can't 100% get behind Spencer as a winner or anything. It's like I've changed. I'm so great now. I'm like okay, but you're just saying that. Like there's a difference between
No,
saying
but
it and
didn't you
doing it.
see him and Jeremy in their little like boat?
Yeah, Steven, he actually went
But
fishing.
see, but then he added on
Woohoo,
that line
makes
that
you amazing.
this is so great. I'm bonding with people for the game, and then it was like, oh, so
Exactly.
close.
that was a funny boat. They were like in a
Exactly.
basket or something.
I know. They looked like they were little kids, like in a tub.
That was funny.
The only
the
place I have
basket
seen
boat.
that boat before was in Super Mario Sunshine.
All right, guys. So overall, I do think this episode was the first episode of the season that was kind of just meh. And personally, I attribute to that with there being literally zero suspense of who went home when I think they could have set it up better. We did get to see Steven score for the other tribe, which is something I don't think we've ever seen before in Survivor history. And in my mind, I immediately turned to like a fan fiction where two tribes purposely help each other score to win. But that's neither here or there. Before we wrap things up, does anyone have a final soapbox or anything else they would like to stand on besides Elise's bad liberal internet?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. It was obvious who was going home, but the facial expressions of everybody, especially Spencer, Kelly, and Monica, were hilarious, and that just had me laughing at Monica's expense. And I'm a terrible person.
All right. Did anyone else, Jack? Did you want to say something? Can you drink some more rum for me a little bit? Because I mean,
I will,
this is embarrassing.
I liked how once Monica left, Kelly like reached over and touched Spencer's arm or leg. It was just like, we really wanted for each other, but we're still both here. So it was kind of a funny moment.
That's true, and I mean, to be fair, I would probably do the similar thing. Like if me and Steven were to vote for each other in the end, I'd like touch Steven's face and be like, "Hey, man." Okay. So if everything is all said and done, I would like to dedicate tonight's episode to the clam that Monica rescued, because Monica may be out of the game, but that clam is still in that water, having clam babies.
Alive.
I'm not 100% sure how clams have babies, but I like to think it's getting it
Until
done.
next episode
And
where
I wanna
Kimmy goes
thank-
back in.
You know,
Exactly. Till next episode, Kimmy goes back in and gets 0 confessionals. I do want to thank Elise, whose internet is out thanks to the new Liberal Party takeover of Canada. I want to thank Patrick for joining us, even though he didn't have his webcam on. We can't see his beautiful face. I want to thank Alex Cash, even though he never opened his bottle of Sissy drink. The wonderful...
4
Latina
times
flavor
I had
Alicia
4
Garza.
drinks out of this thing.
Oh,
You are
yeah,
not
Gotta
keeping
savor
track
it.
of our
Yeah,
alcohol
I've had
like you
a
say you are.
significant portion of this rum bottle.
That's true. Hold on. And I also want to thank Alicia Garza, because she's the co-host and still missed part of the episode. And, well, I think that's everybody. So have a wonderful evening. Bye.
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 Yeah.
Bye.